Welcome to the Deep Dive, the place where we sift through the most complex research and scientific data to bring you actionable knowledge.
Today, we are undertaking a deep dive into an extremely important and, well, a pretty challenging area: the connection between daily diet, lifestyle choices, and Parkinson's disease.
We've synthesized a whole range of reputable sources, from these huge population studies tracking hundreds of thousands of people to the really specific practical advice from groups like the Parkinson's Foundation and Dr. Michael Greger.
And our mission for you, the listener, is to walk away with clear, evidence-based strategies. We're especially focusing on what someone with early-stage PD can do to influence the rate of progression. These are non-invasive changes rooted in nutrition.
But first, we have to say this, it's the non-negotiable disclaimer. Neither of us is a medical professional. We are summarizing public research. This is not medical advice.
Absolutely. If you or a loved one are dealing with Parkinson's, please, your first stop should be your physician.
And we also want to point you to 3 excellent nonprofit resources that we used for this: the Parkinson's Foundation website, the Michael J. Fox Foundation website, and nutritionfacts.org. They're all just invaluable places to continue your own research.
Okay, so let's jump in.
Right. When we talk diet, we usually think about heart health or something like that. With neurodegenerative diseases like PD, the link between your plate and your brain can seem a little indirect. What's the core mechanism here?
It all comes down to the gut-brain axis. And what's fascinating is that long before the motor symptoms of Parkinson's show up, the tremors or stiffness patients often have significant GI issues, sometimes for decades.
So the gut isn't just a symptom, it might be where the whole thing starts, or at least where it gets amplified.
Precisely. We now know PD is strongly associated with intestinal dysbiosis, that's an imbalance in your gut bacteria, and critically, an impaired intestinal barrier. You've probably heard the term leaky gut.
Okay, hang on. A leaky gut. Let's zoom in on that idea. How is the gut barrier supposed to work, and what makes it leak?
Think of your intestinal lining as a really exclusive security gate. Normally, it carefully controls what gets into your bloodstream. The gatekeeper protein is called zonulin.
Zonulin, got it.
And research has shown that diets high in processed foods can increase zonulin levels, which basically pries that security gate open.
And once the gate is open, what's getting through that's causing trouble for the brain?
Well, when the gut is permeable, toxic substances, bacterial byproducts, pro-inflammatory factors, they all leak into your circulatory system.
I see.
And from there, they can travel along that gut-brain axis right to the central nervous system. Once they're there, they just fuel neuroinflammation, contributing directly to the disease and speeding up its progression.
And this all comes back to the tiny organisms living inside us. The specific types of bacteria we have matter a lot.
A huge amount.
Yeah.
In PD patients, researchers consistently find a decrease in the most beneficial anti-inflammatory bacteria. Now, the names are a mouthful like Faecalibacterium, Roseburia.
Right.
But just remember this, they're all fiber specialists. They're the construction crew.
The construction crew. I like that.
Yeah, they're responsible for producing short-chain fatty acids, or SCFAs, which are neuroprotective and help maintain that gut barrier. When they disappear, they're often replaced by opportunists, like Escherichia shigella, which just increase inflammation.
So it's a complex system with a really simple instruction. Feed the good guys with fiber so they can keep the barrier strong.
Exactly.
So now that we know the target is the gut barrier, the next question is obvious. How do we feed them? What does the highest level evidence say about slowing progression with diet?
That's where the population data is so powerful. There's a massive study from the UK Biobank, we're talking almost 370,000 people, that found those with the greatest adherence to a plant-based diet had a 19% decreased risk of developing Parkinson's.
19%. That's a huge number at a population level. But for someone already diagnosed, the question isn't about risk, it's about the rate of progression. Which brings us to the PROPD study.
Correct. The CAMCARE in PD study, or POOPD, was really the first to suggest that targeted nutrition is associated with the rate of progression. They used a specific score to define what helps and what hurts. This gives us our go foods and our caution foods.
Okay, let's start with the go foods, the ones linked to a statistically significant slower rate of progression.
The list really reinforces that MIND, or Mediterranean diet model. It's full of fiber and polyphenols. The single highest association with reduced progression was found with fresh vegetables.
Not a huge surprise there.
No. Then came fresh fruit, nuts and seeds, non-fried fish, olive oil, coconut oil, and fresh herbs and spices.
That makes perfect sense. It's all whole, unprocessed, plant-heavy food.
Exactly. But then there's an interesting curveball in the data.
Oh.
The study also found a positive association with moderate wine consumption, specifically 6-ounce servings.
Okay, hold on. Wine. That seems to fly in the face of most health advice. How strong was that link?
It was statistically significant, but moderation is absolutely key. The thinking is that the benefit probably comes from the high concentration of polyphenols in, say, red wine, not the alcohol itself.
Fascinating. So it's a compound within the wine. Okay, now let's flip it. What about the caution foods? The ones tied to a more rapid progression?
Well, the first group is what you'd expect. Highly processed items, canned fruits and vegetables, diet and non-diet soda, and fried foods.
No shockers there. But then we get to animal products. Beef was strongly implicated, right?
Yes, beef consumption was associated with significantly faster progression. The sources suggest a link to its high iron content, and this is backed up by another finding from the study,
Which was?
that taking iron supplements alone, separate from diet, was also linked to faster progression.
So too much iron might act as a pro-oxidant, creating the oxidative stress that damages neurons.
Exactly. And then there's the long-standing issue of dairy. Dairy has been repeatedly linked to PED. In the PROPD data, 3 specific items were associated with faster progression: ice cream, yogurt, and cheese.
Yogurt and cheese, too. I mean, they're often promoted as healthy. Why are they on the caution list?
There are a couple of theories. First, dairy intake might lower uric acid levels, and uric acid is actually a powerful antioxidant that protects the brain. Second, for many people, dairy contributes to that intestinal inflammation, the leaky gut we just talked about, which just feeds the whole cycle of neuroinflammation.
That gives us a really clear evidence-based roadmap. Okay, let's turn to a more structured approach. Let's talk about the Daily Dozen philosophy from Dr. Michael Greger.
Greger's approach is this comprehensive, whole food, plant-based strategy. It's a daily checklist to make sure you're getting the most protective plant compounds.
So for a listener focused specifically on Parkinson's risk, what are his top-line recommendations?
His core message for prevention is pretty simple. Routinely consume peppers, berries, and green tea. They're packed with specific protective compounds. And then he emphasizes regular exercise and minimizing exposure to things like pesticides, heavy metals, and dairy.
Okay, let's dig into that full Daily Dozen checklist because it's a great goal list for supporting that gut-brain axis.
Right. These are daily targets. For those SCFA-producing bacteria, he says you need 3 servings of beans or legumes every day. That includes things like lentils, split peas, hummus.
3 servings of beans a day. Wow. I mean, that tells you how seriously you have to take feeding that gut microbiome.
It absolutely does. Next, the antioxidants. 1 serving of berries, fresh, frozen, or dried, and 3 servings of whole grains, like brown rice, oatmeal, or quinoa.
And what about the specific seeds and nuts he calls out?
You need 1 serving of nuts like walnuts or almonds. But critically, he singles out 1 tablespoon of flax seeds.
Flax seeds specifically. Why that? Is it just the fiber?
That's the key. It's the fiber, but they are also an amazing source of lignans and ALA. That's a plant-based omega-3 fatty acid. It's a really high-density nutrient profile.
Wait, moving on to the rest of the vegetables.
He breaks it down into 3 categories. You need 1 serving of cruciferous vegetables, like broccoli or cauliflower, 2 servings of greens, like kale or spinach, and then 2 servings of other vegetables.
So a huge amount of plant matter every day.
Exactly. And finally, 1 serving of spices with a special emphasis on turmeric.
Because of the curcumin.
Right. Its active compound, curcumin, is a potent anti-inflammatory agent, which, again, targets that central mechanism of neuroinflammation.
Okay, that brings us to our last section. Supplements and some of these broader lifestyle factors.
So the PROPD study also looked at supplements. On the positive side, fish oil, a source of the omega-3s EPA and DHA, was associated with a statistically significant reduced rate of PD progression.
Right. The biological reason for that is pretty strong. EPA and DHA are known to be neuroprotective and anti-inflammatory.
They are. But a really crucial point the sources make is about purity and quality. Fish oil supplements can vary widely and sometimes contain contaminants like heavy metals.
That's a huge concern.
It is. And for the cleanest, most potent source of EPA and DHA, a lot of experts now point to omega-3 supplements made from algae, not fish.
Oh, because the algae are the original source, so you skip the fish and the bioaccumulation of toxins.
Exactly. You get the good stuff without as much of the risk.
That's a great practical tip. And the supplement that hurt progression, we already touched on it.
Iron. Very clearly. Iron supplementation was associated with faster progression, which just reinforces the idea that high levels of iron, whether from supplements or from red meat, can accelerate that oxidative damage.
So outside of specific nutrients, what about behaviors? This is where the research got really interesting. What lifestyle factors were linked to slower progression?
This data shows how health is tied to community and engagement. The study found that individuals who did specific food-related things showed significantly slower progression.
Like what?
Things like routinely preparing meals for others, cooking most of your meals at home, and buying food from local farmers or co-ops. Trying to eat organic when possible was also on that list.
I find that so compelling. It links the benefit to the act of preparing the food, not just eating it. Why do you think cooking for others would be so protective?
Well, cooking at home means you control the ingredients. You're automatically cutting down on the processed, fried, and canned foods that we know accelerate progression. But cooking for others? That suggests social connection, physical activity, using complex cognitive skills.
So purpose, engagement.
Exactly. That seems to be profoundly neuroprotective.
It's a holistic view of health that really ties everything together. These dietary strategies are safe, they're low risk, and they offer a really promising, non-invasive way to support your neurological health.
We've covered so much, from gut bacteria to flax seeds to the simple act of cooking. So please use this information to talk with your physician and definitely check out those resources: the Parkinson's Foundation, the Michael J. Fox Foundation, and nutritionfacts.org.
Our sources show that the best defense against disease often involves a shift in habit, not just taking a pill. And when a whole family adopts these dietary changes, not only is the family member with Parkinson's more likely to stick with it, but everyone in that family dramatically reduces their own disease risk.
So given the power of this knowledge, here's a final thought for you. What profound changes could you unlock in your own health and the health of those you care about simply by dedicating yourself and your family to preparing and sharing fresh, whole food, plant-centric meals at home every single day? The fundamental act of self-care and shared nourishment. It might just be the most accessible form of precision medicine we have,